Hey, good morning. Welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines, and I'm on my way home now. I just dropped off the little red, and I now have my easy 2-mile walk. So if you'd like to come with me, we're on our way. Now bear with me if my camera angle gets a little bit down. If I'm talking and watching myself so I don't fall down, the camera gets last priority. But it's a beautiful day. It's not actually too hot, although it is hot, but I've got my bottle of water, and look at that blue sky. How can you complain about that? So this is the early part of the road. For those of you who haven't done this before with us, people have walked this road for, well, a number of years. It was actually put in, and then I believe it was donated. The rights to it were donated, but so far we haven't had any luck in getting the city to honour their responsibility to keep it in good shape, so we're actually having it done ourselves. ¿Cómo está? So they're just two ladies just walking by wondering why I'm talking to myself. I wonder the same thing. Actually, it's okay to talk to yourself. You're only in trouble when you start answering. That's all I believe. So the grader will be coming up and redoing this part of the road again. And Beth tells me that the grading driver has got a brother who can drop quite a few cubic feet of what they call base surface, and if he drops that ahead of time, then the grader will smooth it out on places like this, and hopefully it won't be as hard as it. This is not a problem unless it's really bad in the rains, and then the danger is that you slide off into the side, and then it's get out and walk and come back in the morning, hopefully when it's not raining, with some help and shovels, and dig out. Now that house is finally looking really nice. Not completely finished on the paint yet, but getting close. That house has been worked on ever since I came to Bohol 5 years. Finally looking nice. Beth's answer is always the same. The wife is a school teacher and the husband is an OFW. Probably a seaman. I don't know whether you can hear, but among the birds and the wind rustling through some of those trees, I can hear the sound of my own footsteps. you can only have that if you don't live in the city, I believe. Now this here is what we always called the haunted house. People were actually living in that house, and there was either an earthquake or a fire, or possibly both. And now it's getting more and more and more hidden by the undergrowth. Beth is always very respectful of this place because it has old mango trees and they're not being cared for, so the spirits move in and then the trees become haunted as well. We live in a very haunted place, you know. But look at this now. On this road I pass so many places that would be wonderful spots for building a house. We used to go up and around along the top of the hill there instead of facing this red uphill, heavily ridged by rain road. But now that the grader has been up here and has done a certain amount of levelling, it's not so bad. Mind you, when it was very wet the other day, I didn't realise this until I started up this hill, that the four-wheel drive is not engaging on the little red. And damn it, now that I'm talking about it, I'm realizing that I didn't tell the mechanic that he needs to check that cable. We'll be going there later. That's going to be an engine out, send the block to Cebu, and it will be bored and re-sleeved, new pistons, main bearings and rings, of course. But no work on the head because that was done very recently, so that should be okay. But I would hope that he would check on that and tell us if any work should be done. Now this is a spot where at night you can see the lights of Cebu. Cebu is over there. I think you can see through those trees. It becomes clearer in a moment. Although it's a beautiful clear day, the mountains aren't so clear, but you can see some little specks of white, and they are the buildings of Cebu City, right on the far line. Yeah, you can see Cebu City there now. That's how I like to see Cebu City, from here. Because from here you can't see the traffic. Now there's been a lot of fires recently with the very dry weather, and a lot of this land has all been burned down. It grows up very quickly again, but you can see the brown. See over there, look. Far over there, not that you can see, you can't see it, it's over the hill I think, is the Village of Hope Orphanage. See, look, you can see how that tree was burned, and already it's all green. Here's the green shoots again, all coming up. So all of this was burned down. Now that would be quite a nice spot for a house. Look over the other side of that hill, be a beautiful view. And I love the lights of Cebu in that way too. Actually, when you're walking, more than driving or riding, you can really see how hilly this is. I always liken going up to our house as moving through a lock system on the waterways. You know, every so often you get an increase in altitude like that, and it comes back down, but not as much, so you don't drop in altitude, and then you're back up the hill again. Just hear how quiet that is. If you look back at some of the old videos of when the grader came through, I stood up on top of that hill and watched the grader come through. That was quite a drive by that man. And the way that that works here is it's a grader that's owned by the city or the town council, and you can rent that. I've forgotten exactly what the exact rate is now, but I think that we just paid 20,000. But along with the 20,000, you also have to pay for gas, and that's several thousand. Look at that, really beautiful. Yeah, so you pay also for gas, and either the way that goes, that you give it to the driver and he buys the gas, or you choose a gas station, go there, pay for gas up front, and the grader will drive in there, fill up and come on to the work. And then he'll park the grader down there by that new house that we just looked at, and they'll leave that there overnight, Every morning he'll come in. It's rather a nice thing to see, because the man has a very close marriage, and his wife comes along with him. So she comes along and sits up there in the cab with him, and spends his working day. They spend his working day together, which is really nice. Now over that hill is the way that we used to go when we went down to what we call the Foursquare Church. It's not the same Foursquare Church as Pastor Timio has. Now you see what I mean? There was a little rise in altitude, then a that was a big rise, bringing us higher, and then a very slight drop, and then a steep rise here. Now that was one spot where when I had all the family up, and the camber is slightly off, and it was very muddy, and we almost slipped a wheel off the edge. We were right on, I could feel that it was on the edge, and actually that is something like a 4-foot drop down, and then rolling down right to the trees down there. Not something that you want to do. Had to quietly, without seeming I was in panic, to tell everybody to get out. Everybody got out and we waited, and Rado came down, and a neighbour passing who, let me see if my memory has right, was the father of Lorraine and Dat, who we know very well, come to church with us on Sunday and often come down to the house to play. And he came, and between them they lifted the back of the truck so that it was on very good ground, and I was able to reverse, and we were able to get on our way safely. But it was a big enough concern, and it taught me an important lesson, that even when the path seems to be totally forgiving, it's as if it's lying in wait for you. Now that's why we have this stretch of road here, a little stretch. Now with the western viewpoint, you would probably say, well, what the hell, why is that little stretch of road right out there in the middle of nowhere? Well, it's to enable you to get on your way. So here we are, go level again, and then up over a little hill. Then we have quite a long stretch that drops in altitude, but then of course it recovers. Now look at that over there, the hills. It does show you that we literally are in hundreds of square miles of these mountains. And that house over there is what used to be the house. See, it's an old Nipa house, Nipa roof, which may look okay from here, but leaks like a sieve if you're actually underneath it during the rain. And the family came, and that's where they live now. And that looks like Crystal, one of their 3 children. So that's what we call the secret house in the mountains. Secret. I always tell this story again because we have new subscribers who will inevitably say, why do you call it the secret house? It's not secret, everybody can see it. Well, that's because we had planned to move in when there was nobody there but the skeleton, and they couldn't afford to finish it. We thought it would be fun to go in with the Superman team and in one day just put the cladding on. We would take the cladding with us, of course, and we would put it on. And the family would come and say, wow, who could have done such a thing? That would have been a secret, but not for long. So look at the hills rolling away and getting higher. This is part of the reason why our signal can be very iffy. It can be on and off. Or it can just be weak and slow. And we do have people call us on the phone and it never works. See, there's one house there, look, the silver of the roof. That's one house. That's one light that we can see when we drive home in the dark, which we're not doing anymore. And there, look at all those hills there. Actually, even though it's a very clear day, on even clearer days you can actually see more ranges of mountains behind those. So it gets clearer. These are high enough that they block the view for anything behind. This is where Beth first started her driving because it's relatively easy, although you will have heard me say, don't go near the ditch. You'll have heard me say that a few times. And there's a rare sound. I can't even see it, but it's an aircraft. We don't hear that too many times. That will be at over 30,000 feet up there somewhere. And we're right around midday now, so the sun is directly overhead and it's heating up a little. So I will let you go now, as it must be as interesting as watching paint dry, as one of our subs once said about something that we'd posted. So I wish you goodbye and talk again. Thanks for being with us. Let's hope that at some point you will be able to like and comment and subscribe. You can always subscribe. It doesn't cost anything, and it doesn't cost anything to have the subscription. It's a poor use of the word. Bye for now.